Now, here is prophecy. I'm about to read you from Isaiah 53, the chapter 53. This particular chapter describes in vivid detail the punishment that I have been talking about all these episodes. Now, this was 800 years before the crucifixion, before the trial in the middle of the night when Jesus was arrested after dark and hustled off to the tribunal where he had no advocate. It was all against. See, Moses' law stated that, if you're going to arrest a man for a crime, you do it in broad daylight in front of everybody. If you're going to have a trial, you do it in the middle of the marketplace where everybody can watch and everybody can criticize. Everybody can see how you're sticking to the law of Moses if you were a Jew in Jerusalem in these times more than 2,000 years ago. But Jesus did not have that. He was arrested after dark. He was brought to a tribunal of the high priests in the middle of the night and slapped up, punched, beaten, kicked around. They plucked his beard out. No, there was a complete sham and a disgusting revelation to see that this is where the highest and most exalted members of the religious order treated the very messenger that came to them. And then, of course, they hustled him out in the early pre-dawn hours to get to Pilate and get a writ of execution for him. Now, here we have all of this described in vivid detail by Isaiah. This is 800 years prior, 8 centuries before. Who has believed our report? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant. And I'm going to read the frank interpretation of it, not the stylized, make it more prosy sounding. As a root out of dry ground. He had no stately form or splendor. And when we see him, there is no appearance that we should desire him. He is despised and forsaken by men, a man of pains and acquainted with sickness. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our sicknesses and carried our pains, yet we reckoned him to be stricken, struck down by God, and afflicted. But he was pierced through for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by the blows that cut in, we are healed. All we, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord has caused to land on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from confinement, from confinement, and from judgment. And who will declare his generation? He was cut off from the land of the living, and for the transgression of my people he was stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death. because he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to crush him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, and he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. So from the labor of his soul he shall see light, and be satisfied. And by his knowledge my righteous servant shall justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil, the plunder, with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors. He bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Now, that's a whopper. I mentioned at the very beginning of the broadcast, the Hebrew is different from modern American, and we don't really speak English in America, but we say American English. The Hebrew language in text is written from right to left, not from left to right. In English, we create our sentences from right to left, and we say, I went to the store. In Hebrew, you would say, the store to the went I. And it's, as you can tell, it's enormously awkward to just frankly translate Hebrew. And Greek is the same way. Greek is written backwards. The same sentence structures begins at the end where we would put the end of the sentence. I went to the store. In Greek, you'd say it the same way. To the store went I. Very much similar. Although both are very vivid languages that describe. The Hebrew is very emotional about how you feel. The Greek is very analytical and to the point. Fasty, speaky, speaky, you, me, make deal quick, okay? Is kind of how Greek works. And it poses a problem to Bible editors who really work very hard to recreate, in the American language at least, ancient Hebrew and ancient Greek. And I mentioned these are dead languages. Nobody knows how the Hebrew actually sounded. We can only guess. Nobody really speaks this way anymore. The same as if you go to the island of Greece today in the Mediterranean, you begin speaking your best rendition of, Koine Greek, the Greek of the Roman Empire. Everybody's going to say, what? To them, it's going to sound kind of like it, but it's not going to be the same. So we have to overcome this. And one last thing is that I'm reading from King James. This is the New King James. And the King James edition, 1611, has what's called continuity. That is, the scholars who put together the King James edition of the Bible in 1611 really did consult with what were then, 500 years ago, the received texts. And these were manuscripts, over 5,000 of them. So it is a continuation. It is contiguous with the original texts of the first century. Once again, John Wilcox attempting Romans. Let's get back to chapter 5, shall we?